Okay, pocket pistols. You know they're really popular. What? Ruger, the LCP Model 1 and 2, they've sold how many million? Problem with them is they're kind of small and people doubt their carry capacity. There's a lot of instructors that don't even really consider them real pistols. The paraphrase Jeff Cooper, the problem with small pistols is people might mistake themselves as being armed with a real gun. I'll talk over what I mean by real guns and otherwise, that these are real guns, but larger size capacity guns is basic categories that most people break these into. Full-size guns like these two FNs, 1911, this Glock 20, 21, and 17 is the real good full-size one. The 1911 is the epitome of a full-size gun. Your compact guns that are just a little bit shorter on capacity and barrel length, the classic worldwide over Glock 19. This Glock 29 is a little bit shorter, makes a good companion piece to the Glock 20 there. Walther PPQ, love this gun, can't say enough good things about it. And SIG 320, thought this is a compact frame or compact slide with a subcompact frame. Thought you could get the extended frame for $40 extra and just exchange it on so you got more capacity. There's also a lot of other in here. The Smith & Wesson M&P series, full size and compact fit in here. A lot of name your favorite brand. There's thousands of pistols available these days. Subcompact, Walther PPS, the Shield. Again, something that's been sold millions of. This SIG 938, this is almost a pocket pistol. We'll talk about that in other ways. What I don't have here, good examples are there's Ruger LCP, their ECP 9, not LCP, but their 9mm. Ruger Glock 43 is an excellent one. The old car 9mm. Just coming out now, the SIG P365. Thought we got to really see how that one plays out and how reliable it is, since it's just getting brand new. Down to pocket pistols, what we're really talking about here. Classic here, Ruger LCP 2, and then the Kel-Tec P32, one of the really forerunners of the CNC machined and just molded frame. Give an idea of the size of what pocket pistols and why they really appeal is this with 6 rounds and 1 in the pipe weighs as much as the loaded magazine of 7 rounds of 45 for this. And you can really see the size difference on what you're carrying here. It's a much smaller gun. And that's why why do we carry pocket pistols? Because these are much more effective guns. You have longer barrels, which gives the bullets better terminal effect, generally larger calibers, longer sight radius, or the ability to mount red dot sights, higher capacity, 15 rounds rather than 6, even with this 6. And up to here, this is a 15 round, this is a 20 round capacity on these larger guns. Just the full-size guns are your duty guns that, along with the compacts to a degree, that soldiers and police will carry. And you can barely conceal these. I know some people that conceal full-size ones regularly. With the growth of concealed carry, with millions upon millions of concealed carry holders, the subcompact and really the pocket pistols have gotten more popular. Today I'm going to talk about the pocket pistols with a little bit on the subcompact here. This does not equal that. These are fighting tools. Again, like a lot of instructors won't even talk these because one is they're really hard to shoot, and also they just don't give you the capacity that these do give you. But it's better to have the pocket pistol you carry rather than the full-size 1911 you leave back at the house. Why would you carry pocket pistols except for the size? Because again, I really encourage you to carry larger ones. A lot of times with these guns here, you have to dress to the gun. The gun detects your wardrobe. the size of pants I wear, the belt I have, even the shirts I wear, are dictated by the type that I carry these guns. All these have been carry guns of mine. And some of the other larger ones I've actually carried as well. But I have to change my entire wardrobe to meet these guns. But if I'm running with the running shorts, which you saw in the intro, I can't pack this. It's going to swing around too much. Or even something like this Walther or a Glock 43, which are fantastic guns. They just won't fit in a shorts pocket running without bagging your leg up and swinging all around and being really obvious you're being concealed. These are really guns for when concealed means concealed. A lot of this is also dictated by work environment. If you have a professional environment where you can't get a bulge on your pants or have the clips there, or the favorite appendix carry where you have it overhanging and then you pull up and dry out, that's not going to work in a shirt and tie environment at work. Women, it gets especially more difficult on what their wardrobe could be. So these are guns that really you have that you put the gun meets your wardrobe rather than the wardrobe having to meet your gun. That makes sense of what you're doing. Also good deep concealment. They also make really good backup guns. This Ruger here, I personally carry as my backup gun. And it's better to have a gun on you that you don't. This little SIG here I've carried as a running gun when I was off post and afterwards for over 16 years now, and I've actually taken a coyote with it because I had the gun with me. I believe that Rick Perry, when he was governor of Texas, actually as a jogging gun in his shorts, carried one of these and took a coyote as well. You're not going to be running with one of these larger guns with a full-size rig. What you have here most of the time is machine sights or barely sights at all. I'll show you that the clear here. There's no slide stop here. This one on the old Kel-Tec, this is the first generation. If I put the magazine in, it works as a slide stop. But then I have a really heavy double action. It's not a recock double action trigger pull. And then the first click's not it. I have 2 clicks for my reset, so I have to go all the way forward to get that reset on it. So not good sights, not good triggers. I'm only able to get maybe 2 fingers on that. The pinky's not working. This one's barely getting on there. The recoil's not as bad. You can hold it pretty well. The Ruger, this is a LCP2. A lot of what I'm going to say for this covers the LCP1. I believe the LCP2 is a good improvement. While this is 32, this is 380. These can be a bit punishing and beat you up a little bit for long shooting sessions. With me, it'll bang up my trigger finger there. This has got a larger backstrap than the original Ruger. The original Ruger and also the Kel-Tec 380 would beat up your hands. I've got about medium-sized hands, kind of small hands for my size actually. But if you've got large hands, these guns can be painful to shoot, especially in 380. This has machine sights as well, but I've painted them up. You can see here, actually gives me a lot better contrast, a lot easier to see. I use bright sights. I bought these off Brownells. It gets rubbed off every couple of months. I've had this for about a year, and I've had to redo the sights 4 times. Had to repaint them. And this, while it has a single action trigger, it's still a relatively heavy one. It's probably 3 times the weight of that 1911. And it's easier reset, but still, I don't get much of my fingers on it. I only have 6 rounds. There's expanded capacity you can get, and a finger one, but a little finger extension on the magazine. Well, what's kind of the point of that? The point of that, with a finger extension, if you're using it for deep concealment, that's more something you use for the range or if you can barely do it. The problem is a lot of people think this equals this in their proficiency. If I could shoot really well with a big gun, I could shoot well with a small gun. These are really difficult to use. I see a lot of people, especially for the Rugers, new shooters come on in and they have the Ruger. It's inexpensive to get, and that's in part why I got one, so I could develop some proficiency with it myself to teach new students that come in with them. This is not a beginner's gun. It's a lot more difficult to shoot. I could do these 100 yards. Most of these I can stretch, but the Glock 29 is a little harder, to 100. These I can stretch to 50, 60 yards. This one, it's hard to stretch to 30 yards to hit a man-sized silhouette. If I try really, really hard, I can get 50 yards with this, but it's almost as difficult as to get these with that's more difficult than to get these with a 100-yard gun. These are better beginner guns. They're easier to use, the sight picture's better, the trigger's better, you can grip onto things, it's less punishing, so you don't have to fight flinch is one of the biggest problems for new shooters, is actually every shooter. I've seen some of the best shooters in the world occasionally flinch. So what you're doing with this, you can't do with this. The problem with this is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Look it up. It's basically people that aren't skilled in something assume they have a higher level of competence. If you can kind of do something at this at range, in a square range, then equals that you think under extreme pressure of getting shot at, you can use this well. It's not, does not equal. This is a much harder one to develop skill in. But sometimes you have to dress for the wardrobe. Sometimes it's what you can afford. Several Rugers and even some of the basic clocks you can get some, and the Smith & Wesson Shield. You can get some subcompacts or even compacts at affordable rates now. But aside from the price, it's really you have to carry to the wardrobe, not have the wardrobe revolve around what you carry. So where this really shines is close-in work. It's a body gun. It's a fantastic backup gun. If you got to carry as a primary, again, if your wardrobe or work circumstances force you on that, it's what you have. And again, this beats that 1911 or any of these full-size or even compact guns back in the gun safe. Because the gun you have on you is the gun you have in the fight. So we'll show up close work. I'll show a little bit of long-range work where you can really stretch the legs on these things. Then I'll get some final thoughts on this. Oh, one thing I almost forgot here really quick. SIG 938 here. Clear. And the 238 SIG, which is a bit, just a fraction of an inch smaller in all dimensions than this. It is close to the same size. That you got the hammer and the beaver tail that goes back there. Problem with this is this costs more than twice as much of this, especially this is the Equinox version with the front fiber optic sight, night sights all the way through. It's got a laser on board. Really nice gun. This is actually my wife's carry gun. And you have 9mm as opposed to 380, so you get a better ammunition selection. And actually, in some ways, cheaper ammo to shoot for practice. Just the way ammo prices go. But again, the size that you have on these two, you look at these in other subcompacts, compacts, and then full size. Especially this is a 1911. This is my wife's bedside gun here. How much it gets the same muscle memory and basic operation, especially with the thumb safety on this, as the 1911, but in a much smaller, easier carry form. But I'm going to really work with the Ruger today because the Ruger is much more common. Thought this is if you have the money for it and you're forced to carry a pocket pistol, I would highly suggest the 938 and the 238, especially the 238. The slide on this is a little tight. The 238 is a lot easier to work, especially for women, the elderly, or somebody who's got problems with their hands. Really excellent gun. But we're going to mostly talk about the Ruger today because where it really tells is the back strap there. You can see in there it's much more compact. And this may seem like a small thing on film here, but if you carry a gun, it's those itty-bitty little things where the butt shows, that beaver tail shows up, or just how thin it is against the side of your body or in your pocket, which makes it as easy to conceal or not. So again, we'll go over the Ruger here real quick, and then I'll give you some thoughts on these. Real quick thing here is we're going to go over holsters. This is a DeSantis pocket holster. Works good front or back. You got to be careful, especially in the back here. It'll start making a mark in your pocket, in your back pocket of jeans, really quick. This Talon holster, otherwise, goes in this really flat back here. Works really well, and make sure the pistol doesn't print at all. Those will be the two holsters I'll be using this for here. Now we're already loaded up. The thing with a pocket pistol is it conceals really well, and you can have your hands in your pocket here, and you're armed. The draw here is extremely fast, and also it points really naturally. That may not seem like a really good difference, but so close range, hands in pocket. So I got my iPro back on now. If you see a break in this, that's why. I got a hand up and the other hand in the pocket. My draw is very fast. Yes, two hands is better here, but I might have a hand I'm defending with. We're back here. Sometime I'll go over my 3 checks I do after a shot. But that's where this really shines, is close range for the front pocket, is that draw is very fast and very effective. And this thing points very naturally at close range. Reloads, since I think I've only got like 1 round left. Then I'll show you left-handed carry and how I carry it in the back pocket there. We'll go back and do some distance stuff. Rehold the gun and ready to go. I'll using my Talon holster for the back pocket here. Real important thing, I take the holster out and put the gun in it, then put it in the pocket as a whole unit. Don't shove the holster back in. These generally don't have a safety on them. That's just asking for negligent discharge. Then put it on back in. Again, the back of this holster makes it look like a wallet. If I use this DeSantis holster here, the back of the pistol is going to print in there and even start wearing in your stuff. I've seen people who carry DeSantis holsters in like back pockets, and what you end up with is the gun printing real quick, easy on. So I'm a right-handed, this is my primary gun shooting. Why do I carry a left-handed holster? It's my backup gun. A lot of times I don't really carry my compactor full size on this on my right-hand side. Walther, Sig, Glock. Sometimes a 1911 or an FN, but most have been alternating between the Sig and Walther. But sometimes my right hand may be caught up. I can reach around here and but again, these pocket holsters can be extremely fast, and how the gun points so well. Just pointing where your finger is at close range, it works really well. So for unsighted fire at close range here, I get my right hand up and see, I could just do this. I could do real easy with what I'm for pointing with the pistol. This is where these pistols exceed over regular pistols. Is sub 10 feet, and I can really point them well. If I do that with a regular Walther and Sig, I can't quite as point it as well and like call my shots at that close of range like that. And that's where a pocket pistol really shines. We're having problems here at this close of range is smaller barrel, generally smaller bullets. Your terminal ballistics aren't as well. Where a lot of people start double tap or something like that, you're going to have to start thinking triple and quadruple tap just for your terminal ballistics really to work with this. Don't think of any pistol as one shot, one kill, especially a pocket pistol. You got to think of yourself as a boxer with a series of combination punches with your handgun. That comes back to the capacity issue with this. If I put 4 shots into him, his next buddy over here, I've got 2 rounds left before I've got to reload. And a reload on these small little guns is a little hard. I'm going to go back and show you how at long range where you can stretch this thing's legs. This is where pocket pistols really start to fall apart compared to normal pistols. Is that distance and the sights, trigger, the size of it gets more difficult. We're going to do the 40 yards here rather than 50 yards today. It's close to 30 degrees today, and my hands are getting a little cold, bit numb. These guns, rather than 50, these guns can capable of doing 100, even 200 yards. It's really the human interface, the sights, the grip, especially the trigger, that limits what you can do with it. But you do pretty good. So, back to all these pistols and where a pocket pistol fits in. if you actually have to do a deep concealment in pockets, jogging clothes, professional wear, and you really have to have the gun to the clothing instead of making the clothing work for the gun, the pocket pistol could be the answer. Various sizes here. You can go really teeny with this little 32. A quick word of caution: the really smaller ones, like the old Browning Baby 25 ACPs. I've got a friend who was tinkering around with one of those. He's an expert with these. He can do easy 100-yard shooting, and thought he'd try something really small as a challenge for him, and it worked. It was a great gun for that. The problem is he had gorilla-sized hands, and it's an itty-bitty gun. Working on charging it, he lost control of it and tried to grab it on the way down. It discharged and hit him on the elbow here. He had an embarrassing emergency room visit. They didn't even call the police because they saw the story and what it was. And an embarrassing scar when he's wearing short sleeves. It didn't hurt him, but these guns can almost get too small when we're the novelty stuff. On the rest of the guns, where these fit in here, these really fall into the place. A lot of those old school J-frame double action revolvers, the old Colt Detective double action revolvers as well. And sometimes they'll buy them for the little lady, and they make these things in pinkish colors, along with like it's Taurus and a lot of other competitors in these small guns, and they buy them for a woman as a new shooter, or sometimes a guy that's a new shooter. And about 2/3 of these I see in the hands of new shooters. These are not a beginner's gun. This and these are what a beginner's gun should really learn on, is full-size and compact guns. Even these are going to be difficult for a beginner to work on. These, in a lot of ways, are an intermediate or an expert's gun to really pull out their full potential. At close range, you kind of point with them, but you get past 10 yards or so, and you think, well, most shooting happens at 10 yards. You don't know what your shooting is going to be. You don't know how many people you're going to face. You don't know if it's going to be a mugger at 5 feet, or you're in the next mall shooting terrorist attack with 4 people armed with AKs, and your closest target's 20 yards and your furthest is 120. You don't know what you're going to get into. This is a pivotal gun and more of an intermediate expert's gun to do. If you're a beginner, I highly recommend these. If you have to dress down for what you're dressing for work or professional stuff, I recommend stuff like this, or my wife has to dress professionally. And this is an excellent gun for her on that part. I know a lot of professionals that carry these and can get away with them. Even these require a good amount of skill level and a more of an intermediate level gun than a beginner's gun. Beginners start with something like this. A new shooter, which you set them up with one of these, young kid, woman that's getting to things, a man that's finally getting around to shooting otherwise, you're not setting them up for success with this. It still can be a valid choice for self-defense. It has a snitch. It's a great backup gun. If you absolutely have to carry it, it can do the job a bit, but not as good as the rest of these. Just keep that in mind when you're selecting one of these or buying them, and don't get lured by that lower price point. If you can afford the money, you put how many hundreds of dollars into the cost of an iPhone. This is at least the cost of a current iPhone or Samsung. If it's your self-defense and your life, or the lives of your family, maybe don't go for the price point. But if you want to learn these, again, this is my personal gun. I carry it as a backup with me. When I'm jogging or doing exercise or biking around, sometimes I'll carry this gun. I will teach these. If you want to learn these, I'll be happy to teach you. Unlike some instructors who poo-poo these as not real guns and beneath their notice. They're real guns. They just got to be aware of what their limitations and the amount of skill level they've got. And if you're intermediate pushing expert skill level and you're doing 100 yards with these guns, you're getting your split times really fast and competitive stuff and everything, and you're getting in a rut with the larger guns, pick up one of these and try working on mastering it. It'll be a good challenge for you. That's a part me working on this. On my really good days when I've gone through a couple boxes, I can get this thing back to 60 yards. And in my mind, that's like an accomplishment of getting some of these past 100 or 120 or doing 30, 40 yard headshots. If you're an accomplished guy, pick up one of these little guns. It'll really re-challenge you, And if you can do the fundamentals with this really well, it'll make you more skilled with the larger ones. Anyway, that wraps it up for today. Losing light anyway, and I got things to do. Thank you for your time and consideration. Good day.